One of the major literary works in the Middle Ages or medieval period are ballads, and ballads are narratives that can be recited or sung. The people who used to sing these ballads or recite these ballads were often called troubadours. Troubadours are entertainers who sang and recited these pieces of poetry. And there's two reasons why they would do that. One is entertainment. People would sit around and they would have the troubadours sing these ballads, and it could be about something horrible that happened, or about if someone just got married, they'd write a ballad about their marriage. Another reason why you had troubadours and people to recite these poems for you is that many couldn't read, so writing them down made no sense. And the troubadours would recite these ballads and sing these ballads over and over again in order to help people remember this particular event. And some of the subjects of a ballad are love, especially if it was a marriage, war, if they had just gotten back from war or were about to go to war, betrayal, heroism, and oftentimes tragedy. It just depended, and you could write a ballad about pretty much anything. Some of the elements of a ballad include slant rhyme. Slant rhyme is when the end of a line, or basically when two words almost rhyme. It's not identical rhyme, they almost rhyme. They're very, very similar to each other. So, for example, we have fallen and Allen. They're not quite the same rhyme, but they're really, really close. And same thing with then and pan. Very, very close. So if you've ever seen poetry that it says it rhymes, and you're just like, no, it doesn't. It might be slant rhyme where it almost rhymes. So just think slant. It's slanted. It's almost there. It's not quite perfect, but it's almost there. Also, you have a refrain. A refrain is when you repeat an entire line over and over and over again. You've probably seen that in lots of poetry. You see it in songs a lot. It's how we remember songs, is that constant repetition of a particular line. And you have rhyme scheme. Rhyme scheme is the pattern at the end of lines. So at the end of each line, there might be a rhyme. So for example, and this is how you label it. So for example, the first line you would label A. The second line, if it doesn't rhyme with the first line, you put B. If it doesn't, and then you go on to the next line. If that line doesn't rhyme with any other line before it, you put C. And then the fourth line, if it didn't rhyme with any other line, you would put D. But in this case, it does. It rhymes with whatever word was in the second line. So it would be A, B, C, B. And why do they do that? Why the constant repetition? Why the rhyming? Why all that? Because it's easy to remember. Remember, people didn't read back then. So how do I pass down this ballad from generation to generation? I rhyme things. I repeat lines over and over again so people remember. I give it a catchy tune so people remember it. And lastly, you have two other elements of a ballad. You have dialogue. Dialogue is when people talk. And in a ballad, you more likely have questions and answers. They tend to have someone ask a question and someone answers them. And the poem goes back and forth like that throughout the entire ballad. And then you have mood. And that's just a literary term you really need to know. A mood is the atmosphere. It is the emotion created in the reader by part or all of the literary work. You can decide what the mood is of a poem, of a novel, of a short story, any sort of literary work. You can determine what is the mood, what kind of atmosphere does this poem give me. It could be things like, it could be an eerie, kind of scary mood. It could be melancholy. It could be a very sad poem, very sad short story. It could be apocalyptic, very end of the world, everything's dying and done. Or it could be very playful. It doesn't have to be sad things. It can be happy things, playful. And they combine all of these things, and that creates a ballad.